Hey, this is the Indie channel. I'm Chris, and this is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my UFC 141 post-fight analysis, with the main event being Overeem versus Brock Lesnar. As far as an overall card goes, the main card was really good. The undercard was a bit underwhelming for me. A lot of fights went to decision, but it's not just that. There's nothing wrong with decisions, but the fights were just overall not, kind of underwhelming in my opinion. Let's get right to it. Okay, Overeem beat Brock Lesnar by TKO in the first round. It started with a liver kick and subsequent ground and pound. The story of this fight was pretty interesting. Brock goes for a single leg takedown, gets stuffed. Overeem does what people call his Uber knees, grabs a clinch and just goes for a full-out body attack. His hands are low throughout the whole fight. Brock has no choice but to stand and throw punches that Overeem had no respect for. And Overeem subsequently does more knees and then eventually gets a liver kick and subsequent ground and pound. Retires Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar retired after this. He is the UFC's highest drawing star. But I do feel he gave the rub, in the sense, it's a wrestling term, to Overeem after this win. Overeem's a guy who retired Brock Lesnar, different things come out of this, I mean, it's there's obviously Junior Dos Santos versus Overeem now. The other thing is, it says a lot about fighters. It says good stuff about fighters outside the UFC, that there's still a quotient of MMA fans out there that are like, oh, if you're not in the UFC, you're not very good. And then here's I say that about Gilbert Melendez, for example. The thing that's kind of weird, though, is Ben Henderson was in the WEC. He lost to Anthony Pettis, and now he's a title contender. So, you'd think that these people would start to realize that guys outside the UFC can still be very high level fighters. And Overeem beat up Lesnar pretty bad. It's kind of showing that he's a top level fighter now. Win or lose to Junior Dos Santos, he reached a really, he did something that Shane Carwin couldn't do, that, Frank Mir the second time wasn't able to, and that's beat Brock Lesnar, and those are some relatively high level guys, especially during the time that they fought him. Great win for Overeem. I think from his look to his charisma, he's well spoken. He can be a big star for the UFC. As far as initial thoughts with Junior Dos Santos versus Overeem, I feel that Junior mainly boxes, whereas Overeem uses his full arsenal of Muay Thai. I think that Overeem has a tendency to go in a little more closer. I don't think he's going to fight with his hands down or anything. I think he's going to do the shell defense that he's employing against Verdum. Hands up and really shell it, just be really defensive, because I don't think he has to worry about the takedown. So it's a really interesting fight, actually. Two guys who are primary strikers. Both have questionable gas tanks as well. So it's really, really interesting fight. Good win for Overeem here. Lesnar retires, which is pretty interesting going forward for the UFC, considering he's their biggest draw. What's going to happen? If Overeem wins the title, though, he already got the rub from Lesnar. He could potentially be a star in his own right, but you never know. Okay, next fight after that, Nate Diaz beats Donald Cerrone by unanimous decision. My friends and I we're all just groaning as far as like Cerrone's performance here. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Nate Diaz. I really don't. You know, his boxing has been looking a lot better here, but like, I really, and my friends felt this way too. Like, I think Cerrone kind of came in emotional and with something to prove, and it was definitely his downfall. He was brawling, not fighting MMA. You know, for example, Cerrone would not even try. I mean, he never had the best defense, but I mean, this guy would just take punches in the face. He wouldn't even try and slip, pick, block, or move. You know, I mean, he was just a totally still target. You know, and it's. But also, like, the other thing is, yeah, he employed some kicks, employed some knees, but for the most part, he tried to punch a lot, too, and it's just like, you know, it's not like Nate Diaz, you know, was shutting down his game, forcing him to fight, like, Diaz's game or something. It's Cerrone put himself into Diaz's game. He wanted to punch. It looked like he wanted to get that knockout. When he got those trip takedowns, like, all my friends were, you know, we were all just like, go follow him down there. I mean, yeah, he has great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I don't, like, I just kind of find it hard to believe that he didn't want to go down there because, like, he's afraid of his Jiu-Jitsu or something. Considering that he's a very good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner himself. You know, so it's... You know, I don't, like I said, I don't want to take away from Diaz, but it's just like, I kind of felt that Cerrone lost the fight for himself. You know, Diaz's boxing looked good, but Cerrone really didn't do any favors for himself and made Diaz's boxing look better than what it may really be. You know, Greg Jackson saw him go for takedowns. Where were those takedowns? You know, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's kind of disappointing. You know, I just felt Cerrone was there to brawl and not do MMA. But good win for Diaz. With a lightweight title picture the way it is, Ben Henderson fights Frankie Edgar. You know, there's really not many other guys that are in contention. You know, Jim Miller's going to fight Melvin Gillard. Gilbert Melendez is in Strikeforce. You know, Green Maynard got his shot, so, you know, it's Diaz is actually up there. It's kind of weird because, like, he's just one of those guys where, you know, he doesn't really have the wrestling to really compete with some of those guys that are up there. That's the thing. But we'll see. You know, we'll see how it goes. He has been improving his striking, though, for sure. Next fight after that, Johnny Hendricks beat John Fitch by KO in the first round in 12 seconds. Newsworthy stuff here, you know. I mean, it's John Fitch was, for the longest time, the number 2 welterweight in the world. And to get knocked out the way he did, it's wow. I actually picked Hendricks to win. As far as picks go, I only missed the Nate Diaz versus Cerrone fight and the Danny Castillo versus Njo Kawani fight. And even that was kind of close, too. The reason why I picked Hendricks is that I feel that, for one, I think Fitch was coming off surgery. But two, I think Hendricks is probably the best wrestle boxer that John Fitch has fought. If the fight went on, I don't know how it would go, if Hendricks would be Fitched or not. I know he has really stout takedown defense, especially with his wrestling pedigree. And I always knew he hits really hard. Mike Pierce was probably the only really strong wrestle boxer that John Fitch fought. But I just thought, and Hendricks proved it, that, he's better than Pierce. I thought that Hendricks had a good chance here, especially with his combination of power in his hands, improved striking, and very good wrestling as well, or top level wrestling. course, the Rick Story fight really made it seem like Fitch would probably do even worse, but he knocked him out in the first round. 12 seconds is crazy. Don't know what happens to Fitch here. Does he fight the lower tier guy? Does he fight your DeMarcus Johnsons of the world? Does he fight more mid tiers like your Mike Piles? Or does he stay more around the top? It's just going to take him like 1 or 2 wins to get back to pretty much where he was. You can't really. He has a style that, can pretty much beat anyone, really. With Hendricks, though, he's a new entry into the top division. Ellenberger being another one. Rory McDonald also looks like he's coming up as well. It's right now with Diaz fighting Condit in February that the title's up for grabs, depending on how long GSP's out. You got Koscheck versus Pierce, Jake Shields versus Akiyama, Campman versus Alves, and Diego Sanchez versus Ellenberger. In all reality, for example, Diego Sanchez has beaten Nick Diaz. If Nick Diaz wins a title and Diego Sanchez somehow, he beats Ellenberger, which I don't think he will, he could potentially beat Nick Diaz and be a champion. It's not, with GSP up there and Fitch is number 2, it was for the longest time, it's like, especially with GSP up there, it's like, no one's going to get the title, but now it's up for grabs now. Anyone can take it, It's not inconceivable for, a Koscheck to beat Pierce, and Koscheck gets a winner of Condit versus Diaz, So there's just a lot of possibilities moving forward with the welterweight division now. Okay, next fight after that, Alexander Gustafsson beat Vladimir Matyushenko by TKO in the first round. Great win for Gustafsson. The only guy to beat Matyushenko before this was John Jones. Matyushenko, he's still a great gatekeeper. So I thought Gustafsson would win. His reach is going to be a problem for a lot of the division. He wasn't really showing his reach advantage too much in the Hamill fight, but he showed it here. He dropped Vladimir with a jab and then subsequently ground and pounded him. Of course, Matyushenko ran into it pretty much. Gustafsson's been improving as of late. His only loss is to Phil Davis, and now he's training with Phil Davis. I'd still like to see Gustafsson against a wrestler to see how he does there. It would be a really good idea of how he'd do against someone like a John Jones. A lot of people are really high on him, and a lot of people think he'll probably get in contention in the near future. There's not many prospects in the light heavyweight division. There's Phil Davis, Gustafsson, Bader. After that, there's a huge drop-off, Really, it's like, Fabio Maldonado, Kyle Kingsbury, maybe like Ryan Jimmo, That's the thing. And even then, they don't, maybe Maldonado, but otherwise, a lot of them really don't come off as too strong of prospects, to be perfectly honest with you. But yeah, Gustafsson, someone to watch out for in 2012. Another guy to watch out for, Jim Haytes beat Nam Fan by unanimous decision. Scorecards of 30-25, 30-25, and 30-26. With Nam, he's a journeyman level guy. I noticed his takedown defense isn't that great. And Jim Haytes was just going for a lot of trips, put his back against the cage, takedown, get into dominant positions, and even threaten with submissions. He's really good, undefeated, really young. But the only thing with him is I'm kind of worried about it. His striking didn't look good, and his conditioning didn't look good as well. But moving forward, you never know. He was just pounding on Nam Fan so much. Maybe obviously you get tired hitting the guy so much and taking him down so much. So, but his striking didn't look that good. But he's still a developing prospect. As far as who you give him, it's tough to say. He's coming off a 2-fight win streak in the UFC. beating Alex Caceres and now Nam Fan. Still relatively lower tier guys. He definitely needs to step up, but I wouldn't give him like a Nunez yet. Maybe a Pearson. But, I'd probably give him someone else, before fighting, getting pushed too high up there. No, I wouldn't give him like a Dustin Poirier or anyone like that, So, yeah. But great one for Hades. He looked really good. Fan, the only one he has in the UFC is against Leonard Garcia. I don't think he'll get cut or anything, but, one more loss. No. He's actually on a 2-fight losing streak. Lost to Mike Thomas Brown. I forgot when he fought Leonard Garcia, actually, if it's before this or... I think it's before this, so I don't think he's on a losing streak, actually. But, one more loss, though, I can see him get cut, though. Okay, next fight after that, Ross, the real deal, Pearson beat Junior Santos by unanimous decision. Santos was employing like a Machida-style tactic here. So it was... but good win for Pearson. He seemed a little confused about it at first. At 145, it's kind of debatable. He didn't look that great here. He really didn't. It's hard to look great against a Sunshell though. And I know in the second round especially, he got like a body shot that really started a good sequence that almost finished. Junior Sancho. But his boxing is still really crisp. His defense is pretty tight as well. He's not going to have that same speed advantage he had in lightweight, as featherweights are very quick themselves. But it's a relatively it's a division that's still growing, and he's a good addition to the division. Going forward, I'm just really curious to see how Pearson's going to perform. Okay, next fight after that, Danny Castillo beat Anthony Njokuani by split decision. Not much to say about this. And this was a case of Njokuani getting more damage on Castillo, whereas Castillo got more better positions. But even then, besides the first round, where he clearly won, these dominant positions weren't that dominant. He was just in top control, I was actually more impressed with Njokuani with his takedown defense, ability to get back to his feet, and whatnot. And of course, his striking is just really crisp, especially in the second round when he really rocked Castillo. Castillo, though, he's doing pretty well for himself. He lost to Volkman, came back with a win over Bailey, and now Njokuani. So, he's doing pretty well. I've never been super impressed with the guy. His striking's just all right. His wrestling's good. He, trains the team Alpha Male, and this was a good win for him. Can't really say where he's going to go going forward. I guess more to the mid-tier now. The Thiago Tavareses, the Sam Stouts, the Joe Lozons, the Matt Wymans. You can fight those type of guys now, I guess. Okay. The other card wasn't too super impressive, so I'm just going to run it down. Dong Hyun Kim beat Sean Pearson by unanimous decision. Story to fight really is that improved striking of Dong Hyun Kim. There's 2 losses in a row for Pearson. He threw a lot of kicks, even hit a successful crane kick at the end of the second round. If there's more time, he would have finished Pearson. He's definitely improving. He's around the upper tier of the welterweight division. I can definitely see him get something like an Ebersol, who's coming off like a 3-fight winning streak. Roy McDonald maybe even would be a good test for him as well. Despite losing to Condit, I think Kim is still a very good fighter. Okay, Jacob Volkman beat Efrain Escudero by unanimous decision. Volkman, kind of employs that same strategy. He's really good at it. Relentless takedowns. keeping guy. He gets in like half guard a lot of times and keeps guys there. Escudero in the third round, I thought he'd win with it. Chokes. He went for some like guillotine variations and whatnot, or like Darce. I think they'd be considered. It's tough to say if they were like Darces or guillotines. But otherwise, Volkman, he's quietly getting a win streak in the prelims. But man, he's stuck in the prelims. He has that like wrestling style, which works for him. It works for a lot of guys. It works for guys like Sonny. It works for guys like Fitch, and it works for him as well. Stand-up's still kind of awkward though. I expect to see him get a bigger fight though after this. Like I said, the guys I listed for Castillo, I can probably list for Volkman as well. With Escudero, take the fight on short notice. Usually when people take short notice fights, they get a call back to the UFC. I expect them to get back a call back. And finally, Diego Nunes beat Manny Gambaryan by unanimous decision. Gambaryan is in a 3-fight losing streak. I wonder if he can cut down to 135. Otherwise, he's not doing so well at 145. Story of the fight really is the range. Diego Nunes was applying a lot of kicks and whatnot. Showed some stout takedown defense as well. He did get taken down though, but showed an ability to get back to his feet. I think Diego Nunes is still a top 10 featherweight, despite losing to Kenny Florian. And I'd like to see who they give him moving forward. Maybe an Eric Coach, maybe a Dustin Poirier, maybe Ross Pearson. Who knows? Okay, and that's pretty much it for my UFC 141 post-fight analysis. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you very much.